Welcome. My name is Rachel. If you haven't met me before, I would like to give an introduction before we begin our practice so that everybody knows what to expect during our time together. Today, I'm here to offer an opportunity for some movement. During our practice today, I'll be showing you lots of different choices for ways that you might choose to move your body. And you're welcome to try all the things that I'm showing you. Or perhaps you'd like to move in a different way than me. So at any point during our practice, feel free to choose a different form of movement than me. And then a third option might be that you would like to take a rest. At any time during our practice today, you're always welcome to make your way down to a seat. If we're standing, you might choose to lay down on your mat. And it might be a short rest. Maybe you'd like to join back in the practice after a short rest. It might be a longer rest. Feel free to rest for any length of time. So you might start with movement, perhaps by shifting your upper body back and forth. This could be any amount. Maybe it's a bigger movement or a smaller one. Feel free to keep your feet and your hips on the ground, or maybe you'd like to lift them up. You could perhaps lift your feet up as you lean back. You might lift your hips up as you lean forward. And you're welcome to leave your hands wherever they happen to be. Another option for your hands could be, perhaps as you're leaning back, you might use your hands to lift your knees up. And then maybe as you're leaning forward, you might choose to press into your knees. If you're pressing into your knees as you lean forward, you may notice a stretching sensation in your hips. And you're welcome to continue shifting back and forth for as long as you'd like. Another way that you could move your upper body might be to rock from one side to the other. So perhaps rocking from side to side. If you'd like to use your hands in this shape, one way could be to support your knees from underneath. So maybe you'd like to tuck your hands under your knees, and then you might use your hands to support your legs as you rock from side to side. Another way you could use your hands could be to perhaps bring your hands to the tops of your legs and then maybe press down. And you might feel a stretch in your hips if you're pressing down into your knees. And as you're shifting, maybe back and forth or side to side, you might notice as you pass through wherever your center point happens to be. So perhaps noticing where your center is between leaning from one side to the other, between leaning back and forth. And then one more option for moving your upper body could be to make a circle shape. Perhaps you'd like to turn your body in the shape of a circle. This could be in one direction. You might choose to stay in one direction, or perhaps you'd like to switch directions. Feel free to switch at any time, one way or the other. Possibly noticing the movement of your legs against the ground or the mat beneath you. You might feel different parts of your legs touching the ground as you move. Feel free to continue moving your upper body for as long as you like. And whenever you're ready, perhaps making your way up to your center point, wherever that is. And maybe you'd like to try a twist. So maybe twisting your upper body around to one side. You could bring one hand somewhere behind you. It might be at an angle to your body. Maybe your hand comes directly behind you. Your front hand might be resting in your lap, or maybe you'd like to cross it over your opposite knee, and then possibly turning your chin towards your back shoulder. You might notice how this feels in your spine or your core. You're welcome to make your way back to your center. And then perhaps you'd like to twist to the other side. So possibly stretching your second hand somewhere behind you. Your front hand might be in your lap, or maybe you'd like to cross it over your opposite knee. And then perhaps turning your chin to look towards your back shoulder. Whenever you feel ready, you're welcome to come back to your center. And if you happen to have your legs crossed here, you might see how it feels to cross them the other way. Maybe switching which leg is in front. Feel free to take a moment to settle in to this shape. And then perhaps leaning to one side. So here you could bring one hand somewhere to the ground beside you, and you might lean your upper body towards your hand. Feel free to walk your fingers out as far as you'd like. With your other arm, option to lift upwards. You might stretch your fingers up towards the ceiling. Another choice for your upper arm could be to bring your arm overhead, maybe in an arcing shape. And in this shape, you may start to feel a stretch on the side of your body, maybe between your arm and your hip. Whenever you feel ready, you're welcome to make your way back to your center. And perhaps you'd like to try the other side. So maybe stretching your second hand out beside you. If you'd like, you could lift your other arm up, possibly stretching towards the ceiling. Or another choice for your upper arm could be to bring your arm overhead, maybe in an arcing shape. And perhaps noticing how this feels on the side of your body between your arm and your hip. And then whenever you feel ready, you're welcome to make your way back up to your center. And perhaps you'd like to come into a tabletop shape. A couple ways to get there. One way could be to swing your legs around to one side. Another way could be to shift your upper body forward and perhaps bring your hands to the ground, and then you might lift your hips up. Opportunity here, if you'd like, you might choose to adjust your clothing as needed. Take your time choosing where you would like to place your knees or your hands. And then if you'd like to find some movement in your tabletop, maybe you'd like to lift up one leg at a time behind you. So you might extend one leg any amount behind you. Feel free to switch from one leg to the other. So maybe alternating, perhaps lifting one leg and then your other leg. You might choose to extend your legs straight out behind you. Maybe you'd like to explore how it feels to lift your heel upwards towards the ceiling. And you're welcome to keep both of your hands on the ground. If you'd like to include your arms in this movement, one way could be to lift your opposite arm. So maybe lifting one leg and possibly your opposite arm. And you're welcome to switch from side to side at your own pace. You might choose to hold your arm and leg up for longer. Maybe switching back and forth more quickly. If you think you'd like to link this movement to your breath, one way to do that could be to breathe in, maybe as you're lifting up, and then perhaps breathe out, possibly as you're lowering your arm and your leg back. Maybe one more time on each side. And then maybe you'd like to make your way into a rest. You might choose to rest in a seat. You're welcome to rest in any shape that you prefer. One option could be a kneeling rest. And if you'd like to take a kneeling rest, you're welcome to have your knees together, or maybe you'd like to have space between them. Perhaps planting your hands on the floor in front of you, and maybe starting to drop your head down, maybe towards the mat. If you like, you could keep your head elevated. Maybe you'd like to drop your forehead onto the mat. And a couple different choices for your arms here. One option could be to stretch your arms out in front of you. Maybe you feel a stretching sensation in your arm. Another way you could arrange your arms could be to bring your arms towards your sides. So maybe resting your arms on the ground by your legs. And if you happen to be in a kneeling rest, you might notice if your belly is resting on your legs, maybe feeling the movement of your belly against your legs as you breathe. Feel free to stay in your rest for as long as you like. Whenever you feel ready, perhaps bringing your hands to the mat, maybe coming back into a tabletop shape. And you might step one foot towards the front of your mat. So maybe having one foot on the ground and possibly your other knee. And you could have your hands up. Maybe you have your hands by your sides, possibly on your knee. Maybe you prefer to have your hands on the ground. If you like, you could bend and straighten any amount into your front. And if you're choosing to move your leg, bending and straightening into your knee, you might feel a stretch on the back of your extended leg, maybe as you start to straighten your knee out. And if you're bending into your knee, you may notice a stretch on the front of your back upper leg. It may be that you would like to move through these two shapes more quickly, or perhaps you would like to stay in one shape or the other for longer. Maybe you find one shape more useful than the other. Whenever you feel ready, you might switch sides. So perhaps bringing your first knee back to the mat and maybe stepping your second foot out towards the front of the mat. Feel free to arrange your hands how you like. They might be down on the mat. Maybe you'd like to bring your hands up towards your knee. It might be that you would like your hands in one place on one side, and you might choose a different place for your hands on the other side. And then possibly bending and straightening any amount into your front knee. And perhaps noticing a stretch in different parts of your legs as you move. So you may notice a stretch on the back of your front leg if you start to straighten your leg out. And you may notice a stretch on the front of your back upper leg if you start to bend into your front knee. You're welcome to use any sensations you're feeling to help you decide how you would like to move today. And from here, whenever you feel ready, perhaps making your way up to a standing form, however you'd like to get there. Feel free to take your time. Coming up to standing, another opportunity, if you're making your way up to standing, to adjust clothing. Maybe you'd like to shake your hands or your feet. And then maybe bringing weight to one foot at a time. So here, maybe lifting and lowering one of your feet. One thing you might notice if you're lifting one foot up, you might feel your upper body shifting so that your weight comes right above your standing foot. If you'd like to find some movement in your feet, one way to move your feet here could be a circle shape. You might draw a circle in the air with your toes. And you're welcome to go in both directions. So if you're doing circles, maybe you'd like to go one way and then see how it feels to go the other way. Another way that you might choose to move your legs could be to bend and straighten your knees. So possibly lifting your heels up toward the backs of your legs. Feel free to keep your hands where they are. If you think you'd like to use your hands in this movement, you might reach your hand back for your foot and possibly draw your foot up towards the back of your leg with your hand. And if you're lifting your foot up behind you, you may notice a stretch on the front of your upper leg or feel a sensation in your arm. Feel free to switch from foot to the other at your own pace. Maybe noticing how it feels to balance on one foot at a time. You might notice if it feels different balancing on one foot than it does to balance on the other foot. And then another way that you could move your legs might be to bend your knee and your hip. So perhaps lifting your knee up towards the front side of your body. You could choose to keep your hands down, or maybe you'd like to reach one or both hands out, hold onto your knee as you lift it up. Perhaps feeling sensation in your hip in this movement. And another way that you could move your leg, if you're lifting your leg up, might be a sideways movement. So possibly turning your knee any amount to the side. If you're choosing to turn your knee to the side, it might feel useful to stretch your opposite arm out to the other side as a counterbalance, or possibly lean your upper body to the other side as a counterbalance. And one more possibility with leg movement could be to extend your leg. And this might be out in front of you or out to the side. And if you'd like to try that, maybe you'd like to support your leg with your hand. So maybe tucking your hand under your knee. And then you might start to extend your leg out to the side or out in front of you, either way. And when you're ready, feel free to release your feet back down. Perhaps you'd like to shake your hands or your feet. Maybe you'd like to swing your arms around you in a twisting movement. You could twist from side to side. Perhaps making your way back to center. And if you'd like to try some one-legged balancing shapes, you could stay where you are. Sometimes it feels useful in balancing shapes to bring your hand to a wall. So you're welcome to find a wall or a surface to rest one of your hands. And as we come in from one side to the other, you might choose to switch which hand you're using to rest on the wall. So feel free to switch from one side to the other. So perhaps bringing weight to one foot, and you might bend your other knee, and then perhaps resting your lifted foot anywhere on your standing leg. Maybe your toes are on the ground and the sole of your foot is on your ankle. Maybe you'd like to lift your heel up and bring it towards your knee. Maybe you would like to bring your foot to your upper leg. Feel free to try all the different spots and choose which one you prefer. And then you might keep your hands where they are. Maybe your hands are by your side. Another option could be to lift your hands up. Maybe your arms are stretching out. Or perhaps you'd like to reach your fingertips towards the ceiling. And you might notice the movements of your standing foot. So you might feel your standing foot making movements to hold your balance here. And then whenever you feel ready, you're welcome to release. Perhaps you'd like to shake your hands or your feet. And maybe trying the other side. So perhaps bringing weight to your second leg. You could bend your other knee, and you're welcome to rest your foot anywhere on your standing leg. This might be towards your ankle. Maybe your toes are on the ground and the sole of your foot is on your ankle. Maybe you'd like to lift your heel towards your lower leg, maybe right under your knee. Or you might choose to rest your foot on your upper leg. And it might be a different place from one side to the other. So maybe you chose one spot on the first side, but you want to have your foot at a different place on this side. And then option 2, include your arms. Feel free to lift one or both arms. You might have one hand on the wall. Maybe you're lifting your other arm up. Maybe you'd like to lift both arms up. Maybe there's a different place that you know of that you would like to place your hands. So feel free to explore. There's no wrong place for your hands. You might notice how it feels to breathe in this shape. And whenever you're ready, you're welcome to release your hands down. You can shake your hands and your feet. And maybe you'd like to try a standing forward fold. So in a standing forward fold, you might choose to put some space between your feet. Perhaps you'd like a bend in your knees. And you might start your fold with your hands resting on your upper leg, maybe right above your knees. And then perhaps supporting your upper body with your hands on your legs. You might start to bring your upper body towards being parallel to the ground. And feel free to stay here. If you think you'd like to reach towards the ground, in this particular shape, I like to have a block here, but we don't have one. We'll pretend. So if you have your block, you can rest your hands on your block, and your block has 3 different heights. So feel free to adjust the height of your block, or maybe you'd like to bring your fingertips or hands down to the ground. And if you think you'd like to find some movement in this shape, one way to move could be to shift back and forth on your feet. So you might lift your heels, and then maybe you'd like to lift your toes up. This might be together, maybe lifting both heels and both sets of toes. Or maybe you'd like to move your leg one at a time. So perhaps bending and straightening one knee at a time. And maybe lifting and lowering one heel at a time. You're welcome to stay here as long as you like. Whenever you feel ready, you might unroll your spine to make your way up to standing. If you think you'd like to try that, you could have a bend in your knees. Maybe your arms are hanging down, and perhaps stacking your vertebrae one at a time as you make your way up. Once you've come back up, maybe you'd like to make some circles with your shoulders, or you might choose to make circles with your head. Or maybe you'd like to swing your arms around you in a twisting movement. And then perhaps coming back to your center and maybe making your way back down to a seat. So we're short on time, so I'm going to go right into the rest. At this point, you might offer some seated shape with legs extended, but we'll come right into our rest. So if you'd like, you could make your way into a resting shape. We're done with the movement portion of our practice at this time. Have a chance for a rest. You're welcome to rest in whatever shape you prefer. So it may be that you would like to take your ending rest in a seat. Maybe you would like to lay down. Feel free to rest on your back, your belly, your side if you're laying down. And even though this is a time for resting, there's no need to remain still. You're welcome to continue to move throughout your rest. This might be rocking your knees from side to side, or maybe you'd like to rock your head from side to side. Maybe you'd like to find movement in your fingers or your toes. Or it may be that you would like to explore stillness for a few moments. You're welcome to close your eyes. Perhaps you prefer to keep them open. It's your choice. And you might notice how your breath is feeling at this time. So you might notice the pace of your breath. If you think it might be useful for you, you're welcome to add length to your breath. So perhaps adding a little bit of length to each breath in or each breath out. You might notice if your breath has a temperature to it. Maybe you feel a coolness or a warmth. Each inhale or each exhale. You may start to notice movement at different parts of your body connected to your breath. This might be in your shoulders. Maybe you feel your shoulders moving up towards your ears as you breathe in, or perhaps coming down away from your ears as you breathe out. If you happen to be laying down on the ground, maybe your back or your belly is resting on the ground, and you might feel part of your body pressing into the ground as you breathe in. So if you're laying on your back, this might be feeling your back pressing into the ground as you breathe in. If you're laying on your belly, you might feel your belly pressing into the ground as you breathe in. Perhaps feeling everything coming back in towards the middle of your body with each breath out. And wherever you happen to be, we'll have 30 seconds of a quiet resting time. And I'll watch on my clock and I'll let you know when our 30 seconds of quiet time is over. All right, our 30 seconds of quiet time is over. Feel free to blink your eyes open. If you like, you could take a full body stretch. You might stretch your arms up overhead, perhaps stretching your legs out long. And then as you feel ready, if you're laying down, you're welcome to make your way back up to a seat, however you'd like to get there. Once you've come back up to a seat, perhaps you'd like to find some movement in your head. You could make some circles with your hands. Feel free to go in both directions. Or maybe you'd like to twist to one side or the other. There we go. Thank you so much for joining me today.